Hi everyone, and welcome to this fireside chat with Lorraine Dallmeier. It's lovely to see you, Lorraine. Thanks so much for joining us here at the fireside chat.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to take part in the summit and really lovely to talk to you today.
Lorraine, you've got an incredible story of building up a startup from pretty much scratch to becoming a global multi-million pound empire. And you've won Digital Achiever of the Year from Google as well. Lorraine, I'm so excited to hear your story. How did this all happen? Please tell us a little bit more about it.
Gosh, that's a big question. I think it really stemmed from the fact that I had very good corporate jobs. I worked all around the world. I managed big teams. I managed big budgets. I was remunerated well, but I kept hitting that glass ceiling. I was too young, too inexperienced. I couldn't get the promotion. I wasn't being given what I wanted. And I went on maternity leave and I returned, and it was like I was being ghosted by my company. They literally stuck me in the attic. I had nothing to do. I kept going down, going, give me something to do. But they didn't have anything. And I thought, you know what? The only way out of this is for me to start my own business. So I did. And
Sorry, Lorraine. Just as another woman listening to this, I mean, you'd come back from maternity leave. How did that make you feel?
oh gosh, that was really hard. I mean, really hard, particularly as I was like number two in charge in the company before I went on maternity leave. And then I came back, and as I said, it was like I was ghosted. And I'm not the sort of person who could just take a salary and do nothing. So I was sat there every day sort of going, give me something to do. I'm bored. I don't want to be bored. I've come back, I've had a baby, give me work. And they just didn't have anything because they hadn't planned themselves properly. So it wasn't that they didn't want to help me. It was just literally that no one had really thought through the fact that I would be coming back at some point, and all the work had been sort of passed on to other people. So yeah, I wasn't best pleased, to be honest. And then I realized that the only person who was going to make this change was me. So I took matters into my own hands and started my own business. And initially, the first thing I did actually was I created an iPhone app. So I was watching the BBC's Apprentice, and I thought, if they can do it, so can I. So I created an iPhone app whilst I was on maternity leave. And then I thought, right, what's the next step? Because I was teaching people how to make DIY beauty products through this app. So the next step I thought was, let's start my own skincare brand. So I thought, how do I do that? I took a small online course, absolutely loved it, and then had the opportunity to actually take over the school I trained with when it was in its infancy. It was just a one-woman side hustle. So I bought it with the intention of it being my side hustle. And here we are today, 7 years later, as you say, global multi-million pound empire. We're in 170 countries. I have 35 staff. We have 11,500 students. Yeah, it's been a real roller coaster ride getting here.
Wow, Lorraine, I mean, that's truly phenomenal. Um, I want to pick something up that you said just before, and you mentioned this was a side hustle. And, I know when we spoke before, when we were sort of prepping for this, this word hustle has been bandied about quite a lot, certainly by some Americans, and we won't maybe name them. And do you actually believe the side hustle works? Do you think that people can pick up whilst in their corporate jobs and sort of start a business? Or should they be giving up and putting their heart and soul into something?
I think that's a really good question, actually. I've never been asked that before. I think it does work, but it really depends on who you are as a person. So for me, it was never going to work because I'm not the sort of person who can just go, I'll do that for an hour and then I'll stop and move on. For me, it's I give it my everything. I don't let go of it, and I keep going until I get what I want out of it. But I think if you can compartmentalize your life, your day job, your side hustle, your family, your other responsibilities, then yeah, I think it absolutely can work. And there are plenty of people out there who've demonstrated that. I think it really depends on who you are as an entrepreneur as well.
Taking that to who you are as an entrepreneur, what would you say was some of the key things that you put down to your success? If you were to look back on those years, are there some key turning points where you think, wow, that was a really good decision, that sort of turned things around?
I think the main thing and I've said this many times over the years, is just consistency. Just literally showing up every single day and repeating what works and stopping what doesn't work, but just really maintaining that consistency. And I watch so many entrepreneurs start something, stop, give up, change. They're chopping and changing all the time, and they don't give it the time it needs to really demonstrate that it can be a success. But to give you an example, I am a prolific content creator. I love blogging. I love podcasting. I love going on summits like this. This is, my sort of thing. And I've known that I have to continually create new content in order for it ultimately to be a success. And when I took over Formula Botanica, the school I run, we were getting 1,000 visitors a month on the website. Just through that consistency of publishing a piece of content every single day, every single week for 7 years, we now have over 400,000 visitors a month. So there's an actual metric that demonstrates if you are consistent, it will pay off. But if you don't have that consistency and that ability to just keep grafting, basically, then yeah, you're going to struggle a little bit more, I think.
That bit that you said, that ability to just graft, what really drives you to push past those moments? Because I'm sure you've had some challenges through the years.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, what drives every entrepreneur? They have to find that passion within them, don't they? I've often said this, that if your website gets hacked at 3 a.m, what's going to get you out of bed to make sure you get it back up again, that sort of thing. And for me, it's very much is tied with that whole corporate story that I just shared. I want to prove myself, and I think I've done that now, but I'm not going to stop anytime soon. I want to keep going, and that drive to prove myself is so big that I sometimes can't stop it. Also, I want to provide a better life for my family. Now, I have 2 young boys. They're now 7 and 10. I'm no longer on maternity leave. My partner, he's at home. We retired him. And this business has given us the opportunity to buy our dream home, to retire my partner, to create a future really for all of us. And that is incredibly exciting and fulfilling to know that I've been able to create that. And that drives me forward as well. And also I want to be a role model for my boys. I want them to see that they can generate their own wealth, much like my parents demonstrated to me. I mean, they started their own business from home in the spare room when I was 8. And I grew up very much with that understanding of, if you need money, you can go out and make it. And so I think those 3 things combined are what drives me.
I love when you said, it's interesting when you said that you feel like you had to prove yourself. Where did that sort of start from? That proving yourself, was that something that went back to sort of corporate days, when you were working your way up, or before then?
Yes, yeah, it was very much something that I experienced in the workplace. So I'm from the Netherlands originally. I grew up in Holland. I'm bilingual, which is why I sound British. For anyone who knows Dutch people, you'll know that they're quite blunt and they speak their mind. And so I went into the workplace, always working for Anglo-Dutch companies, and I always spoke my mind. And that wasn't received particularly well by the Anglo side of the Anglo-Dutch companies. And so I was often told, you're scary, you're intimidating, you're aggressive. My first boss actually called me the Antichrist because I used to challenge him on the things he was doing. And, after a while, that really starts to chip away at who you are. And I sat there thinking, am I really that scary? Why are my male colleagues not being told this? Just because I'm sitting there sort of challenging things, trying to improve projects, trying to drive things forward, which I know I can have a real profound impact on. So yeah, that's, I think, where it probably stemmed from. And I've spoken to many, many women since then who also get told these things in the workplace if they step up and make their voices heard. And I really hope that, we're moving into a future where hopefully that starts to change in the corporate environment anyway. But for me, I think that true gender equality in the workplace has got to come from women starting and leading their own businesses.
I mean, what you said there, I'm just going to repeat that. So gender equality comes from women starting their own businesses. I mean, that in itself is, as a woman, and having been in corporate life, I completely resonate with what you said. And I was in a very male-dominated world as well. and you had to be aggressive. And unfortunately, it wasn't necessarily the person that I like to be, but showing emotions and being vulnerable and being probably who you truly were wasn't an option.
Yep.
And actually being an entrepreneur, yes, you are truly who you are.
Yeah. And I've been able to make change now in my business to ensure that doesn't happen. And, 80% of the people I employ are women. I can make a decision around the contractors I hire. Just one small example is I had an interview with an HR firm many years ago, and they came over to meet me and my partner, who's also a director in the company. And he spent the entire time talking to my partner, even though we very clearly said, this is Lorraine, she runs the business. He sat the whole time staring at Richard. And I wrote to him afterwards and I said, I'm sorry, you're not getting the job. And he said, why? I said, because you totally ignored me in the meeting. This is my business. I run it. He was mortified, but I thought I can now make change along those lines.
And hopefully he won't make that mistake again when he's talking to another woman.
I should think so, yes.
Lorraine, we've mentioned the word change. Now we are living in a period of change, and it wouldn't be a chat without us bringing up that lovely word COVID. How has COVID changed your business?
Well, quite dramatically for the better. And I know that this isn't necessarily a common story that everyone tells. And I very much feel for the businesses out there who have really struggled. But in our case, we've grown by 80% this year. It has been absolutely phenomenal. I've hired 25 new staff members as a result of this growth. It's been absolutely crazy, actually. And when it all started, I was sort of looking at what was happening, and everyone was very fearful. That trepidation went throughout the whole business community. And I sat there and I thought, you know what? Let's look at the finances. So I went and had a look at the company bank accounts, which I do all the time anyway, I hasten to add. And they were looking very healthy. And I thought, okay, good. We can survive this. Even if we make no sales this year, we'll be fine. And then I started talking to the contractors we had on board. And some of them were sort of saying to me, we're going to have to furlough our staff. We've lost all our clients. We don't quite know what to do. And then I sat there and I thought, you know what, actually, there's an opportunity here. Whilst there's this downtime, to put in place the projects I've always wanted to put in place and see if we can grow a bit once we come out of this phase, not knowing what would happen. And that was a really scary thing to do. But actually, it's paid off dramatically for us. I mean, to give you another example, I started recruiting as soon as COVID hit. And everyone thought I was mad. They were going, what are you doing? And I said, well,
you were scaling up in this period where I guess a lot of people would be looking at that and thinking that's quite a risky decision to scale up.
Yeah.
We're in times of uncertainty.
Yeah, but the fact that I'm quite conservative in how I treat our finances in the company meant that I was taking a very calculated risk. So I knew what we would lose if it didn't work. And I knew that it wouldn't damage the business irreparably. I knew that it was something that we could quite comfortably do. And that's why I decided to go down that route, not expecting, obviously, to then see 80% growth as a result of these decisions and also as a result of lockdown and COVID. So it's been a crazy year, definitely.
Phenomenal. I mean, you've scaled up really well. What advice would you give to anybody that is potentially looking at scaling up, and at what point should you scale up?
Well, I think you should scale up when you feel ready. There is very much a push that everyone should be scaling up, and that isn't necessarily always right for you. You have to know what is right for you as an entrepreneur, and also think about what you want to get from your business, what your exit strategy is. Maybe if this is going to be your life for the next 30 years, then maybe you don't want it to be an enormous thing. So I think, first of all, you have to make that decision in yourself and not listen to outside forces sort of telling you what the right decision is. The other thing I've really learned, and I'm still learning every day on this point, is that scaling up involves changing your operational systems and culture and structure continuously. So where we were 2 years ago is completely different to where we are now. Where we will be in 2 years from now is completely different to where we are today. And you have to recognize that you're constantly having to change the business in order to be able to handle that growth and that scaling. And it continues to catch me unawares, and we're continuously going, oh yes, and now we have to create a procedure for that and a process for that, and we need someone here to do that. Because of course, in the early days, I would wake up in the morning and think, I've got an idea, and then by lunchtime, I would have implemented it. Those days are still here, but they are leaving us quickly, because of course, the bigger you get, the more processes you have to build around that. So I think you have to be aware of the fact that the bigger you get, the more structure you need in place, and the more almost sort of corporate you have to become. But if it's your business, you can still put your stamp on how corporate you are or aren't in that particular case.
And in terms of that, obviously you've talked about some of the challenges in scaling up. How do you even recruit your staff, or what do you look for certain personalities in the staff that you recruit? Because that must be one of the most strongest points of the business, your staff and your people, and who are actually contributing.
Yes. Oh my goodness, I have so much to say on this topic. It has been such a challenge over the years learning how to recruit, because you have to know what you're doing first of all. And it wasn't a background I hadn't done a lot of recruitment. And in the early days when you're running a business, I found myself sat there going, oh, you want to come and work for me? I feel so grateful. Thank you. And not really testing the abilities of the people we were hiring. So I made a lot of really bad decisions in the beginning, and still do it occasionally, of course, because you're still learning and you can't always get it right. Nowadays, things are very different. I even have someone in the company who is in charge of recruitment, because I decided we couldn't leave it up to fate anymore. We had to be completely over this, because if you hire the wrong person, you spend a lot of time, you spend a lot of money, and you spend a lot of heartache getting them on board and then offboarding them again. And I would recommend to anyone who's thinking of going through the process of scaling up that you really think about how you're going to find these people, how you're going to bring them on board, how you're going to test them, how you're going to set up their probationary periods, where they're going to slot into the organization, how you're going to offboard them if it doesn't work out. All of these things you have to think about beforehand, because if you don't, you will make the same mistakes that I did and spend a lot of time and money and heartache on it. Nowadays, as I said, we have someone in charge of recruitment. It's a lot more sort of proceduralized. We have really good processes in place, and I feel very confident with where we're going, but it has taken me 7 years to get there. So if anyone watching wants to scale up, I recommend starting on that process a lot sooner.
And are there some key roles that you think businesses should start with? Because I think a lot of people spend money perhaps in not the right areas. Maybe they look at glossy advertising, or this, that, the other. Or what are the roles that you see are fundamental to the success of a business?
It depends in part on who you are as an entrepreneur and what your strengths and weaknesses are. And it also depends on your business, of course. I mean, in my case, there are certain roles that they've literally had to prise out of my fingers. So for instance, earlier this year I finally let go of the Instagram account. That was a really big, I know, that was a really big thing for me. I got us to 50,000 followers and went, okay, I think I can do this now. And now we have someone in charge of social media. The accounts, I'm not going to let go of them anytime soon. We have a bookkeeper, we have a financial coordinator, but no one is going to keep an eye on those accounts other than me. You know, that sort of thing. I know where I want to be involved, and I also know what my strengths are. Digital marketing was another thing I haven't really let go until I don't know, 2 weeks ago. I'm still working on it. So you have to know what your strengths are, and don't try and do the things that you know you can't do. But on the other hand, you have to almost sort of roll up your sleeves and try and do everything in the beginning if you can. But there are certain red lines that you will set. I mean, for instance, the first time I had to do my own tax return, I sobbed the whole way through it and then went, you know what, I'm never doing that again. So that's the first thing I outsourced, and it will be different for everyone. So you have to figure out what's right for you. One key role I will just highlight, which goes across every company, is I think you need someone who's really good and really strong on customer service. And we have an amazing head of student experience who is an absolute asset to the whole school, the whole company. And we wouldn't be able to run without her. And that's the sort of person you need, who can really sort of run with your customers and make sure they have a great experience.
Fantastic. And did you wait till you got the sales in, Lorraine, till you expanded your team, or did you start straight away?
No, I waited a good year before I hired anyone. The first person I hired was obviously, other than the accountant, was an IT developer to come and manage the website. Then I started to hire people to come and do grading, because of course we teach online courses, so we needed tutors. And then the next person was head of customer service. So I started to just let go of things that I knew I couldn't really focus on, that I knew weren't really a priority for me being able to run the business. But as I said, I knew, for instance, that digital marketing was something I couldn't let go of. So it's only really in the last few months that we've brought on board our new chief growth officer, our head of systems, people who are now going to run with digital marketing. Saying that, I've known them for many, many years, which also helps me be able to let go. Yeah, it's a long process, and you have to figure out what the priorities for you and your business.
And now, as we've changed the way we are working with what we're living through, presumably a lot of your staff are working from home. Have you found there has been challenges around that?
We've always worked from home. So I run a home-based business. So for us, also when COVID hit, the only thing that changed was that everyone had their kids at home. And, obviously we make allowances for that. What else can you do? It is life. My kids were at home as well. But we've always run a home-based business. And that means that we are set up for that. We pay people a working from home allowance every month in order to be able to purchase their own hardware. So I don't end up with a garage full of laptops if they leave the company. There's little things like that that we've fine-tuned over the years. But it's also allowed me to go outside of the borders of the UK and hire people internationally. Because I found, particularly in terms of education technology, digital marketing, that sort of field is just very, very, it's in its infancy in the UK. So finding the right people to help with that has been a real challenge. And so I've gone further afield, and we employ people in the US, Brazil, India, Slovakia, Belgium, Malaysia, Australia. They're all over.
And has that brought difficulties in within itself? And how have you coped with all the different time zones and the different cultures that you're of people?
Yes, it has, but we found a way of working with it. Obviously, we can't ask the people in the US to start at the same time we do in the morning. That would be cruel and unfair. So they start after lunchtime for us. And we use systems like Slack, where people log on and go, hello, good morning. Everyone has set working hours. And because of that, the expectations are a lot clearer. The other thing I would say is, because we're online, our students are online as well, and they're in 170 countries. So the fact that my team comprises many different nationalities and cultures is only a strength, because it means that we can connect better with our customers as well.
That word connection, and we're talking about connection more and more, I think, because we feel a lack of connection. And you've already mentioned that you're a home business anyway, but how do you create that connection? Because we all need the connection, whether you're home-based or not. Is there a way that you sort of could give advice? Because I'm sure there is a lot of people right now that are working from home. Maybe they're not used to working from home, maybe suffering, or maybe they want to take their business to the next level and feel, well, how do I start with the connection side of things?
Yeah, there's many things you can do, and we're still learning as well as we go along. We use systems like Slack, where everyone's chatting to each other, but we try and make it fun as well. So we have like the Giphy plugin in Slack, so people can communicate with each other through GIFs. It's little things.
A Giphy plugin.
Everyone needs a Giphy plugin in their life. Honestly, it's so much fun. And we're on Zoom like this all the time. I mean, I'm on Zoom calls all day long, as is my whole team. But we've also started doing things like having Zoom socials. So once a month, one member of the team will set up a Zoom social, and then we might go into an online chat room and play Pictionary with each other. Or for the first time ever this year, we're having our Christmas party on Zoom.
Oh, wow. So will you all be there with sort of Christmas decorations, glass of wine?
Yeah, and we're giving everyone a budget. So everyone gets £25 to go and buy their food or drink of choice and bring it to the Christmas party, because we can't cater. It's little things like that bring us closer together. And I think it's a bit more challenging when you're not sat in an office together. But actually, as I said, it allows me to recruit the right people in the right countries with the right attitudes and the right skill set. We just have to work with the limitations of working remotely. But so far, it seems to be going quite well.
And where do you see, or do you have a long-term vision for the future of your business?
I do. Formula Botanica has so much growth potential that it's slightly overwhelming at times. I mean, we have grown phenomenally. I mean, we're on track for 4 million turnover this year. We will be at 10 million within the next 2 years. I guarantee it. The growth trajectory we're on is unstoppable at the moment, because every single person wants to learn how to make their own beauty products. And behind me, you can see all of our graduates.
I was going to say, those bottles look very intriguing.
I know. I mean, I get sent so many different products from all over the world, because people take our courses and it changes their life. And then they start their own brand. And, everyone wants to learn how to make their own cosmetics at the moment. Our growth so far has come through organic marketing. We're going to heavily invest in paid marketing moving forward. And yeah, I mean, we'll be an 8-figure business within the next 2 years, undoubtedly. So exciting times ahead. And beyond that, Formula Botanica could be a household name, because my intention is to make cosmetic formulation as commonplace as cookery. Anyone can do it. It's great fun. It's what used to happen before the pharmaceutical industry took over and told us that we needed to wash our hair every day and needed to buy all these very complex anti-aging products. But actually, you don't. You can actually make your own products and empower yourself with that. And we'll be leading that journey globally, hopefully.
Lorraine, that sounds absolutely fantastic. And what an amazing future vision to see, so many people actually making their own cosmetics and their own products. And just in terms of the legacy that you want to leave behind, do you have something that you sort of see that is your legacy from all of this? Because you've grown this business and it's become, phenomenal.
Yeah, it's my baby, my third baby. For me, the legacy really sits actually in the digital marketing work that we're doing. It really excites me. And what we're doing is so cutting edge. And most people just don't see this level of digital marketing out there. And what digital marketing means to us is very different to what it means to most people.
What does it mean to you, Lorraine?
Well, we don't have that much time. I probably need like an hour with some
okay.
But basically, most people view digital marketing as things like social media. But for us, it is about building automated systems. And, I send out 1 million emails automatically a month, which are laser focused to absolutely the people who want to hear from us. But these automated systems are what's leading to our growth, basically. So for me, that's my legacy. I want to create something that's so cutting edge and so exciting that could almost be replicated in any kind of business.
Wow, Lorraine, you're an absolutely inspiring woman, and what a fantastic business. I've really enjoyed having this chat with you. It's been amazing, and I hope you've enjoyed the fireside chat as well.
Thank you so much. It's been really lovely talking to you, and I hope everyone enjoys the summit, and good luck with all the other fireside chats.
Thank you, Lorraine. Take care. Bye.